Hey, it's Stitch993 here, back again. We're talking more about the countdown to the Switch 2, which, as of the recording of this video, is supposed to be June 5th. And I've been doing these videos, let's see, this is going on day 6. I think we're a week in now. Of me just kind of gushing over the Switch because it has become my favorite console of all time. And you can go back to the first video to find out more information about that. And yeah, every day just counting down. I've been talking about some stuff about the Switch and its legacy that's kind of going to be leaving behind. So today we are talking about limited print games. So this is kind of a hot topic. It's been a hot topic since limited print games have kind of come onto the market. There's and if you don't know what those are, it's games that like usually they're like digital only games, and or they're released initially as just a digital download game, or they're just like a little indie game that just shows up on Steam or another console, and instead of being published, you know, by like a main publishing company, they get published by one of like a handful of companies that will print them for a limited time, sometimes for a limited amount, and most of the time you have to like pre-order them to make sure that you get a copy, because otherwise you're either hoping there's still some left over at like their store, which sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, depending on how popular the game is. And then other times it's like you just gotta go to the secondhand market and swallow your pride and hope it's not, you know, as expensive as you think it's going to be. So going to talk about that today. And yeah, we got a couple companies. The main one people talk about is Limited Run, so we might as well talk about them first. So I am, and you know, some people don't like Limited Run because of some of the, I guess some of the stuff that they've done in the past. There was some of their games, mainly like the PS4, I guess, came out that they were, I guess, printing their games on like just like regular burnable CDs or something like that. I didn't really get too much into it, and of course people just don't like the fact that you have to pre-order them in order to get a copy, and sometimes it's like even like big companies will like go out of their way to not release a print of it through their own publishing house, and will rely on Limited Run to print it instead. I think one of the main ones that does this, I think, is Konami. There might be a couple other ones. Microsoft's been doing that for a couple of their releases as well recently, but we'll get into it. So these are just the ones that I purchased. And my thoughts on them. Of course, some of these games I've already talked about in the past, but you know, I do want to talk about them again. So first, and we're going to go through basically each company, I guess it would be. I've got a couple of them here. So, but the main one I've got the most from is Limited Run, and I'm going to talk mainly about the ones that are like exclusive to their site. Now, Limited Run did eventually like team up with Best Buy and Amazon to kind of release some of their games through that way as well. Some of these might actually be a bit more easily available than others. It's just your mileage may vary. So I think this is one of them, or was one at one time. So it's Bug Fables, the Everlasting Sapling. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This is my favorite, or actually my second or third favorite Paper Mario style game. So it goes like the first Paper Mario game for the N64, and then I'm a big fan of Super Paper Mario, and then this this is like the third one for me. But they're all like, you know, neck and neck basically. There, and I just really enjoy you know, games where you're like Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, Pikmin sized, Borrower sized style games. It's just, you know, it's very imaginative, and you can do a lot with this, and they really do a lot with this because your bugs, and you fight other bugs plus other leaf and mushroom like creatures. It's got a kind of an interesting story there. I will say one issue is I have never been the biggest fan of this cover art. It's a bit too much going on here. Yeah, okay, so the main characters are like these three characters right in the middle here. And like you would think like this is the villain up here, but no, that's the queen. And it's just I don't know. I feel like it should be, these guys should be bigger, and like this maybe down here, something like that. It just is, to me, it's not a good box art style, but it is a fun little game. So limited run are numbers like their games when it's going to be like exclusive. Like sometimes like if you follow them on like Facebook or whatever, they'll say this is a numbered release or this is not a numbered release. Usually when it says this is not a numbered release, that means it's going to get like some form of retail release either from them or from another company in the future. But when they do the numbered releases, those are the ones that are like you're only going to be able to get it through the store, through limited run, or through Best Buy. I'm not sure if they still collaborate with Best Buy, but for a while that they did. So this is like number 105, and that doesn't mean how many there are. Like this isn't like 105 of like 3,000 or whatever. That's like the 105th game that they have published. And yeah, so this was just as I said, a really fun game because it's, you know, nice, beautiful visuals, nice, you know, Paper Mario style game. And then on top of that, of course, you've got the main mode, but then you've got like a ton of side quests. There's a lot of stuff to do even after you finish the main story, including like this card game that they made up for it. And like there's a whole side quest of like collecting the cards and getting into this championship for the card battles. And like for a while, that's all I did in the game was just play the card battle mode there. Don't know if it shows it on there, but yeah, it was just it's, you know, the really Moonsprout Games, they really outdid themselves with this game, and I hope they make either a sequel or just more games in the future, because I really think this was like really good right out the door there for them. So this is one of their earlier games, because as you see it says number 15, and that is Golf Story. So this was like still early on. People were still like just, at least for the people that were collecting physical games, they were like, yeah, we're just going to get everything from Let It Run. And like anytime they released a game, it was like a big deal, because you never knew what they were going to release, because it was like now it's like they release a game every couple months. But back then, this was like 2018, they were like maybe releasing a game maybe like every 4 to 5 months, from what I remember. It was pretty stagnant there for a little while there. And then, you know, as they got more popular and were getting paid more, they were able to release more frequently. Oh, I should also mention, with pretty much all these, they like came with these cards, these like collectible cards here. So this was the one from Bug Fables, and they were doing this for a while. Here's the limited run, and then this is the one for Golf Story. On top of, they had like a little ticket on here, and then of course they always include a manual in it as well. But this was like really cool, because this was an indie game. I mean, most of these games that they publish are indie games. It was an indie game, and it was like got a lot of, you know, accolades and stuff. And then they're like, by the way, we're going to be doing the physical copy of it. And yeah, this sold out like that. I think some of these, like the early ones, did get released or re-released later on through a different company, I think, or like through Blockbuster. But this was a fun one. I haven't really talked about this one, so if you don't know, it's a golf RPG. So it's kind of in the same vein as like the Mario Golf for the Game Boy Color. It's really inspired by that game. It's got a bit more to it than that, but if I had to compare it to a game, this would be it. And it's just you going from like world to world, competing in different golf tournaments and stuff there, and you've got like a game within a game. So they have Golf, which is like an NES version or something like that. I never really tried that game there, but this was really fun. All right, so this was one. This is number 212. This is one I kind of regretted buying. This was another Crusade. I mentioned this game in my regretful purchases video I did a couple days ago. And the main reason is because, okay, so this got announced the same E3 as Super Mario RPG got announced for being remade for the Switch. So, and then when it released after Super Mario RPG had come out in stores. So they got announced in June, and then I don't think this game came out until like January or February of the next year. And Super Mario RPG came out in like November or October, one of those two. But it was like a holiday title. So yeah, it was like, man, if this had been like announced like the year prior and released before Super Mario RPG, I think I would have been a bit more forgiving with it, because it does take a lot from like just how Bug Fables is inspired by Paper Mario. Another Crusade is inspired by Super Mario RPG. It's got the same isometric look to it. Instead of the characters all looking sort of clay-like, they're all like wooden characters. They're all like based on Geno. They all look like they're Geno variants there. And so, but there's a lot of and it's got the the battle system where if you press the block button at the right time or the attack button at the right time, you can block better and you can attack better. This game, for some odd reason, though, decided to add like a bunch of platforming into it. Like, not just like, jump to one block and then another and another. Like, Mario RPG had that too. This was like large areas where it's like almost nothing but platforming. And you're on an isometric, camera angle. So, and these aren't like totally aligned like, Mario RPG. I'm going to compare it a lot to that because that's kind of what inspired this game. An RPG, it was at least, it was more about the timing and everything. Whereas this was like, you had to do timing, but you also had to like judge your distance and like because of the angle that the camera's in, sometimes you can't really tell where the heck your character is going to land. So there was like a lot of trial and error for this. So this was like one I was like, and it came out on like Steam beforehand. I was like, oh, I'll just wait and get it on, because they like announced it like it was like an exclusive through Limited Run. Like Limited Run was publishing it everywhere, so they published it through Steam, and I think they published it on PS4 as well or something like that. And then and Switch. So and they released the Steam version first. I was like, I think it even had a demo, and honestly, I should try the demo out. But I was like, nah, I'll wait. This looks good, and So, but yeah, I kind of regret doing that. And then let's see, that was number 212, and then this is number 231. This was just really cool because, it's Obsidian and it's a Microsoft game. It was an Xbox game. And this is when, Microsoft starts like, all right, we're going to release more of our games on other systems. So it was like this and another game that I don't remember the name of. were like announced for the Switch, and then 2 were announced for the PS5 or PS4 on the same day, or you know, around the same time. And it was just like, that's just kind of cool, because, you know, we already had some Sony games on the Switch, so now we were getting, I mean, and we did already have some Microsoft games, so we had like Super Lucky's Tale and the Ori games on there, to name a few. But this was an Obsidian game, and we're like, ooh, okay, cool. I don't think we got any of these there. And this was like, I think, a fully Xbox exclusive game. So this came to Switch, and it was like, yeah, you're, you know, shrunk down to like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids style. You're exploring like your backyard. You got to fight, you know, spiders and other bugs and stuff. And you're trying to find your way back home so you can get big again. And there's some crafting involved. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm not usually the biggest fan of crafting, but from the trailers and the gameplay I saw, it didn't look like it was going to be that much crafting. But holy crap, this is just like, all right, if you're into those games where you just like, it's like 50% exploration, 50% crafting, and you like got to craft every single thing in the game. Like, you got to craft your tent, your weapons, your armor, different tools. This would be the game for you. I put in a good bit of time into this, and then I just, you know, it just came so much hassle to just like, all right, you need to get this stuff to create this, but then also to create this, you need this. It was just, you know, like a pyramid of just to get this one item, you had to craft like 20 different things. I'm kind of exaggerating here, but that's what it felt like by the time I said, all right, no more of this game. This was, this came out, all right, so pretty early on, because Golf Story was number 15, and then this was number 13. I think this is the most recent game I have from them. And it was like a big one too. So Yooka-Laylee was published through Limited Run. However, this is when they started like getting getting Best Buy to release some of their games, or not release them, but Best Buy would be able to get like a good bit of copies. So I got this actually through Best Buy. I think it was like $60. But yeah, this was early on in my, you know, collecting Switch games. And, I really wanted to play this because I'm a huge fan of the Banjo-Kazooie series. Well, most of the Banjo-Kazooie series. And I've really, you know, I grew up with most of the Rare games, playing them throughout, you know, my entire, you know, life, pretty much. So I was like, well, this is by the company where a lot of the past Rare crew came to be. And, yeah, for some odd reason, it, like, got bad reviews, or, like, mediocre reviews. I don't know what people are expecting, because this is exactly what I wanted, and then some. And it's just a lovely platforming game, a lovely collectathon game. It is basically the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. It is pretty much Banjo 3 with a different coat of paint on it. You have some of the same type of moves that you do in Banjo-Kazooie. And, you know, we've got feathers you collect. You've got, you know, instead of Jiggies, you get something similar to like Jiggies, and you've got something similar to I forget their names, but the little colorful dudes that were in every level, Jinjos. So you had like a form of Jinjo and everything like that. And yeah, it was everything I wanted it to be. So that was just a great game. All right, so this was honestly a surprise to me. So like sometimes I'm not even sure if like Limited Run will even pick this game up, because, you know, I'm not sure how well it did sales wise digitally, and, you know, sometimes usually Limited Run, they'll publish like mostly the indie games that like are pretty well known. Like, they really don't go that niche, in my opinion. So I felt like this was kind of niche when they announced that they were going to release this physically, and that's the Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics. Good lord, this is a title and a half. So yeah, this got announced at one of the E3s, that it was a tactics RPG based off of the Netflix show Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, which was a prequel to the classic Dark Crystal movie. And like, everybody was just like, when it first got, the first game got announced, we're like, really? We're gonna get a game based off of that? Because I think the show had already ended, and I don't think it got canceled yet, but it was pretty, it was right before it got canceled. So like, the game came out digitally, and most of the reviews were like, it's okay, it's kind of your bare bones tactics game. But I was like, I'm one of those people, you put, tactics anything, and I'm pretty much like 75% of the time enjoy it. And so I was really excited for this, and I was like, I probably will get this digitally, because I doubt this will ever get, a physical release. And then, what do you know, Limited Run says that they're releasing it. So I was like, well, okay, guess I'm getting this. And this was like one of their cheaper games they release. Usually they're like, they're typically like maybe between $35 and $50. I think this one was like $30, maybe cheaper than that. And I think this game is still pretty cheap. Like, I don't think they sold a lot of copies of this. And so, yeah, I paid $30 for this. And I was just looking up on my app there, and yeah, it was just like, yeah, and I agree, it's kind of your bare bones tactics game. There's not any, interesting gimmicks or anything like that. It feels like, this is just kind of the same type of tactics games that you'd play, back in the PS1 or even SNES era. It is very, very basic. But, because of it being Dark Crystal, I just had to support it, the Jim Henson Company, as any way I can, because I'm just, one of the big fans there. So yeah, I honestly was really liking this. This was okay. So this one did get a card in it, but later on, they were like, the biggest issue people had with Limited Run was it took so long for the games to get actually distributed. Like, you would buy a game in like June, and you might get it like 9 months later, and Lord help you if you got a special edition, because sometimes those things took years to get released. I remember like the biggest thing was like Scott Pilgrim had this like big box set, and like, I think people just started getting that like maybe a couple of years ago. Like, that got announced like half a decade ago, and people purchased it, and yeah, it was just like, when are we gonna get this? Anyway, so yeah, that was the big issue. And so eventually they were like, hey, here's the deal, here's what we're gonna try to do to negate it taking so long to get these games out. They stopped including the cards, because apparently the cards is what, like, they admitted that like we usually get the games and the cases way before we get the cards. Like, the cards for some odd reason take the longest to get to them. And so they're like, from here on, I forget which game was like the last game to get a card, but there's like, from here on out, we're not going to include a little trading card in with the games. And like, some people are up in arms, but I'm just like, I don't really mind, because as long as it came with a manual, I was fine. And they still did come with a manual, but like, I have no clue why they included the trading card thing. It was just like a weird little thing that they did, to be quirky. And I was like, what are you doing with this? You can't use it for anything except to like pad out the the weight of the inside of the case there. So like, yeah, I didn't mind. And then all right. So this was one of the last games I think I've gotten from them so far. I mean, I'm sure I'll get, if they announce a couple other games. I've still got like a list of games that I'm like, I hope they're or like one of the other companies releases, but I if they do, I will buy it. So this was the most recent one I've gotten from them. Was Alien Isolation, the collection. Holy crap. This is like one of the prettiest games for the Switch. It runs great. I know some people were having issues with lag with the controls there, but I was able, at least for me, mess around with like the control sensitivity and stuff, and I was able to get it to work where there was like basically no lag at all. And like, yeah, this is like one of the great horror games of this, the current times here. They got a sequel announced. Alien, the movie Alien Romulus even kind of references some little Easter eggs in that movie that are in this game. And the director came out, he's like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Alien Isolation, so like I put some of the Easter eggs of this game into here because I'm a fan of that game, and I know other fans got into this. Other fans of Alien were introduced through that game, so I was like, hell yeah. This was just a great, really pretty game here. But yeah, this was like when they stopped doing the cards, because as you see here, it's only got the manual here. They were always really good manuals. It's always usually about that thickness, full color and everything. So yeah, all right. So that was that. I think that's all the limited run. I've got a couple other ones that are limited run, but they were like through their like Amazon page, so they're not like numbered games. But kind of speaking of limited run, we've got Carry On by Devolver. So limited run worked with Devolver to like release this game, and then later on it got like an actual retail version of it. And so it's got all this giant thick art book / manual instruction booklet to it. And this is just a cool game. This isn't my top 10, but this is definitely an honorable mention one, because it is a Metroidvania game where you play as the monster, kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing, and you just go around causing mayhem, but also sneaking around and sometimes, and solving puzzles, and of course unlocking abilities later on. And it's got a really interesting story. Like sometimes you'll do like I think it's like the backstory of how they found the creature there. And it's just like a really fun, cool game. And then I don't know if Devolver does this with like all their games, but when I pre-ordered Carry On, I got the email that like was the confirmation email that I purchased a copy. But then like Devolver's like, hey, by the way, here's also like a digital key code, so that you can go ahead and play this game. Which was I've never had any game company that like pre-order game do that. So it's just like really cool. They're just like, hey, yeah, thank you for your purchase. Here's the game digitally, but don't worry, you'll also get it physically. So I already played this game by the time the game came in the mail. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and put you on the shelf, because I'll come back and play you if I need to, but like I have it already digitally on there, so I don't even need like put the cart in. Anyways, all right. So Behemoth is a little cute little company. They've got a couple games under their belt there. The first one is the Newgrounds game, Alien Hominid. That did get a physical release on like the PS2 and the GameCube, and I think the Xbox. And then in the 2000s, they had an Xbox and Steam game called Castle Crashers. It was just like this arcade fighting game where you pick these little different colorful knights, and you go, just like an arcade, you scroll from left to right fighting. It was mayhem and everything. It's really colorful, really cute. And then, like, just a couple years ago, they're just like, we're going to release it physically through our website. And that was like the only place you could buy it was through Behemoth's website. So, like, as soon as you, found out about it, like, I just kind of kept refreshing that page until, you could purchase it. I didn't get like the special edition that came with the plushie. I just bought the regular edition, which was interesting because even the regular edition came with like a little weird little keychain. But yeah, this was like, I already have it on Steam, but I was like, man, this would be cool to just own it physically in some way, shape, or form, because it was never physical before that. Like, it was on Xbox Live, and like I think PlayStation Network, I think. But this was the first time it got released physically. Strictly Limited, I've only gotten one game from them, and it was like on sale. Like, I think I got this on like sale for like $18 or something. I'm gonna check that really quick here. Let's see, Heaven's Light, or not Heaven's Light, that's Hunchback of Notre Dame. Heaven's Vault. Maybe it was more, and then discount or something. It was, so Strictly Limited is not like, it is much more interesting than Mill and Run. Like, they'll actually, what some people enjoy more from them, I think, same with like some other companies, is like they'll go ahead and like make the game and like produce so many copies. So by the time you're like pre-ordering it, it's like going to be shipped soon after that. So like this is like one of like 2,000. But the thing was, like, this released like a couple years back, and when I found out about it, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to go on eBay. But first, let me check the website, and lo and behold, they still had copies of it. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just buy it for, what they're asking for, which was $34. And it's a cool little game. Like, I got it. I talked about it in another video from this series, but I bought it because I found out about it because I played the demo for Chants of Sennaar, and that was getting a physical release, but that was going to get a physical release later. And they were like, oh, if you like Chants of Sennaar, you should play Heaven's Vault, which is basically like the same thing. It's you investigating this weird language and trying to piece together through, puzzles and stuff, what the language means. And as much as I enjoyed Chants of Sennaar, I enjoy this like so much more because there's like no, I mean, there's a story to Chants of Sennaar, but there's no dialogue. It is literally all mime and the pictures. That's pretty much it. Whereas this is like fully, you got a full story. It's fully voiced, like everybody, full voice cast here for all these characters. It's a really interesting story too. All the twists and turns that you find out, and even a real interesting ending of like where this language comes from. And there's also like kind of different paths you can take, which will get you different endings. Plus, you can do like a new game plus after you finish it, where it's like you'll retain all the information that you learned the first time around, but now all the sentences are like more complex. So now you've got even more of these hieroglyphic type of stuff to figure out, and the sentences are more intricate, which, like, hell yeah. So that was really cool. All right, and then lastly, we've got Super Rare, and Super Rare is again one of those companies where it's like they'll make the game and then you can just go ahead and purchase it. So I've gotten, and they like getting like the really interesting games here. So I'll start with like the first one and just kind of go down the list based on my purchases. So the first one I ever got from them was the Heaven Dust collection. So it's got Heaven Dust and Heaven Dust 2. And what these games are is basically chibi Resident Evil style games. When I'm talking about like Resident Evil, I'm talking about Resident Evil 1, 2, and like the first, like not the remakes, but the first where they were like tank controls and stuff, but from a semi-isometric view. And so, but it's still like, you've got to find keys, you've got limited space in your briefcase, arsenal, whatever. So you got to decide what guns and what bullets and stuff you want to do. Of course, you can always upgrade that later on in the game. You're fighting zombies, but you've also got, other creatures you got to look out for. There's a bunch of puzzles and key cards and stuff. It's just if you're into those type of games, this is a really fun game. It was like one of the first games that I got for like 2023, which was just a banger of a year in general, and for video games overall. So it was a nice start for the year, and we just kept going. And then I think this was the next one. I believe it's pronounced Dorfromantik, and it's an interesting little creature of a game. So you make all these little like hexagon type of things, and you're just kind of building a map, and you can just kind of build to your heart's desire. There is like kind of a goal to the game, like you want to get like a certain amount of different type of areas, but you can also just kind of play like a chill mode, like an endless mode, to where you don't have to worry about that. And yeah, it's just kind of one of those, just like you put a tile down, it'll create more things, and you just create to your heart's content. It's just just a cool, cute little game. Okay, well, so Super Rare would just come with all these things. They would also do like their own cards here and other, ads for stuff. I don't know. They gave like a whole bunch of cards here. Then of course they got a sticker, and we got art book / instruction manual. There, they just put a whole bunch of stuff in here. I probably should have showed what they did for Heaven Dust. Same thing. Got a bunch of cards. What was this? Little thank you card, and it's like, hey, if you have any problems within 14 days, just let us know. We'll try to help you. This was more of I don't think this was an instruction manual. This is more of just art from the game, because the game itself will like teach you the controls and everything there. And then the last one, which I think is probably my favorite from the Super Rare. I'm just checking this sticker and seeing what all it comes in. Okay, it's got pretty much the same stuff. Is Smushy Come Home. So it's like, alright, I've already said this a dozen times, but like Pikmin, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the Borrowers style games are always my favorite type, just because I like just the idea of little person, or a little creature in, like a backyard or something, but everything's huge. And yeah, this is kind of that, but it's definitely got like a Pikmin style going on here. But it's a 3D platformer collectathon game with a tiny bit of like, I wouldn't say Metroidvania, but it kind of is like that, where there's like areas that are unlocked that you can only unlock them after you've unlocked stuff later on in the game. But this was just a really fun. It is on kind of the short end. I think I finished this game maybe about 4 to 6 hours ish, 100%ing it. But yeah, it was just a really, really fun, really cute little game. I love the art style here. I've been following the Moon Eye since they like showed off the first demo of this game, and so that's gonna just my overall thoughts is I don't really mind the limited print games. Yeah, it sucks, and if you're kind of like in between paychecks and stuff when like a game is in like coming out for pre-order, it kind of keeps you in a bind there. So, and I totally understand it that, you know, the games shouldn't be limited kind of thing, but I mean, I don't know what else to say. I really, you know, enjoy not even just collecting them, but just playing them. In like, if this is like the only way we'll be getting some of these games, then so be it. But yeah, check out my other videos. I've talked about the Switch, and we're just counting down days to the Switch 2. And until next time, thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.